Here we go, guys. Welcome to episode 3 of Move Those Chains. We got an NFL Week 2 recap on deck. This was another crazy week of football. Probably not as crazy as Week 1. No ties, no overtime. So, yeah, let's hop right into it. We started on Thursday night with a division matchup between the Los Angeles Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs. Both came into this game 1-0 with quarterbacks playing really, really well, and they actually continued that into Week 2. Kansas City took this one 27-24 behind a great performance from Patrick Mahomes. He went 24 for 35, 235 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The craziest stat of his game from Week 2, 9 different players had receptions, 10 had targets, which is ridiculous. I mean, everyone thought that with following the departure of Tyreek Hill, this team was going to struggle to find weapons and usage for other guys that they have in that lineup. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Juju, a handful of other guys, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, another. But Patrick Mahomes is making use of everyone in that lineup and carrying them to more and more wins. It's worth noting for the Chiefs, Chris Jones, one of the better D tackles in the NFL, also had 2 sacks. For the Chargers, Herbert played amazing in a losing effort. Went 33 for 48. Throwing the ball 48 times is just ridiculous. 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Mike Williams, his leading receiver, 8 receptions, 113 yards, and a touchdown. Chargers start the season 1-1. Kansas City moves to 2-0. Now on to Sunday afternoon. Let's start with, let's pick New England at Pittsburgh. New England took this one 17-14. The most noticeable part of this game was the lack of TJ Watt. TJ Watt was injured in Week 1, and the Steelers' defense just doesn't look the same without him. New England was able to go with the ground and pound method, which isn't what we're accustomed to seeing during the Bill Belichick era of this Patriots team. Pittsburgh, they really lacked much of a pass rush without TJ Watt. TJ Watt is an absolute wrecking force. He's expected to miss between 4 and 8 weeks. I think he'll be back around 6. So if this Steelers team can stay afloat for the time while TJ Watt is out, I think we'll see a comeback from them in the second half of the season. But for New England, Nelson Agholor and Jakobi Meyers both stepped up. Nelson Agholor had 6 receptions, 110 yards, and a touchdown. Jakobi Meyers had 95 yards receiving. And in the absence of TJ Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick continues his amazing play. He added an interception to his total. I mean, Minkah's was probably the MVP of last week after blocking the extra point in the Bengals game that sent that game to overtime. So he's been clutch for this Steelers defense. However, they couldn't pull this one out, losing 17-14. The question that's currently being asked in Pittsburgh is whether or not it's time for Kenny Pickett to see some action. Mitchell Trubisky hasn't played bad by any means. I mean, if it's just, I think this will be a question following every loss for Pittsburgh this season, whether or not Kenny Pickett sees some time. But when I talk to former quarterbacks and anyone that really follows the game of football, everyone kind of agrees Kenny Pickett should probably sit and gain some experience in practice and just watching film for at least half or 3/4 of the season, just adding to his mental game. Let's move to Tampa Bay at New Orleans. Tampa Bay beat the Saints 20-10. This is the first time in the regular season that Tom Brady has beaten the Saints as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, I should add. Tampa Bay in this one came into this game without Julio Jones and Chris Godwin, so they were already thin at receiver. And then the story of this game was the fight between Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore. Both were ejected. Mike Evans was later suspended for 1 game next week. This game started off really slow. It was 3-0 Saints at the half. but Tom Brady took over in the second half, and the Bucs defense really stepped up. Jamel Dean, former Auburn Tiger, War Eagle, with 2 interceptions. So yeah, just more stuff that Tom Brady can add to his resume. Him being the GOAT, he looks so good every week. I mean, even when they're not scoring, he just makes it look so easy. He's 45 years old and has an absolute cannon as an arm. So he'll continue to play well. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for the GOAT every week. Let's move to another. This was probably the most disappointing game of the weekend. Indianapolis at Jacksonville. Jacksonville stunned the Colts 24-0, shutting them out. Trevor Lawrence played really well, 83% completion percentage, 235 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Christian Kirk, their new wide receiver, paying dividends early in the season, 6 receptions, 78 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Colts haven't beaten... the Jags have beat the Colts in 8 straight times in Jacksonville. I'll say that again. Jacksonville has beaten the Colts 8 straight times in Jacksonville. That is nuts. That's crazy. I mean, Indianapolis is starting 1-1. I mean, I guess a tie is half as good as a win, not as bad as a loss. But this is a really disappointing start for this Colts team, who I think we all had high expectations for after making some offseason splashes, going out and getting Matt Ryan from the Falcons to replace Carson Wentz. So yeah, I think Indianapolis has to turn their game around real quick, or they're going to be in some real turmoil early in the season. As for Jacksonville, Travis Etienne got some more touches this week. James Robinson also played well, so that'll be a question as we move into week 3. Whose backfield is it going to be? Are they going to continue to split carries? Is Travis Etienne going to see a little bit more time each and every week? But yeah, Indianapolis, extremely disappointing. Jacksonville, they're going to be tested every single week. Let's move to Washington at Detroit. Detroit took this one 36-27. However, I don't really think the score is indicative of how dominant Detroit was. Washington put up some points late in the game, was trying to make it a contest towards the end. However, Washington missed an extra point, which kept it at a 9-point game, a 2-possession game instead of an 8-point game, which would have made for an interesting onside kick, which we saw from the Jets. We got, let's go here. Detroit took this one 36-27 behind a big effort from Amon-Ra St. Brown. He continues to prove why he's one of the best up-and-coming young receivers. 9 receptions, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns. Aiden Hutchinson also had a big day, his first big day as an NFL rookie. He had 3 sacks. DeAndre Swift continues to look good with another receiving touchdown. Washington made it interesting late in the game, but Detroit held strong and took this one. My personal favorite game of the week, as I'm a diehard New York Giants fan, the Giants beat the Carolina Panthers at home 19-16. The Giants looked like they did in 2016. This defense is really stepping up. Defense and special teams forcing turnovers. They kept the Carolina passing game pretty much in check, although that could be attributed a little bit to Carolina dropping the ball quite a few times. Daniel Jones, he has some ups and downs that are really questionable, but it's hard to question 2-0 at this point. Saquon Barkley is continuing to show why he's back to his rookie year form, and honestly might look even better physically. 21 attempts for 72 yards. It wasn't as flashy as in week 1. Week 1 he put up a crazy stat line, but week 2 a lot of power runs, yards that are necessary if you're going to close out a football game. Graham Gano, the Giants kicker, hit some big field goals in this one. I think he went 3 for 3 or 4 for 4. He played really, really well. He hit the game-winning field goal in the fourth quarter. Also, I can't say enough about Brian Daboll and this new coaching staff. They're the first group to have some real success in New York in like 6 years. Daniel Jones looks, worlds better than he did the last few years. He's being protected much better by this offensive line. Saquon Barkley looks good. It's fun to see all of these Saquon finally get the touches we've wanted to see from him for the last few years. So look for that to continue. I really want to see this Giants team keep improving week in and week out. And honestly, they're only going to get better as they get healthy. They're still missing Kayvon Thibodeau. Leonard Williams just got hurt, but I'll keep y'all updated about those injuries because, that's my team, so I'll definitely be all over that one. Moving to so there's probably 2 games that could go as game of the week. I'm going to start with Miami at Baltimore. For those of you that don't know the story of this game or that didn't watch Football Sunday, Baltimore led this one at one point by 21 points in the fourth quarter, and Miami scored 4 touchdowns to come all the way back and win. Miami won this one 42-38. Tua Tagovailoa played really, really well. Tua, 469 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 2 picks. 4 of those passing touchdowns coming in the fourth quarter. His 2 primary weapons, speedsters, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Waddle, 11 receptions, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyreek, 11 receptions, 190 yards, and 2 more touchdowns. These 2 dudes continue to show why having speed on the field is unfair. They bust coverages better than anyone else just by running go routes. They turn defenders in circles just by running in a straight line. They are that fast. They are crazy fun to watch. I think Mike McDaniels and this Miami team they're for real this year. They're playing in a really tough division with the Bills, and obviously you never know what can happen against the Bill Belichick squad, and the Jets are the Jets of the Jets. But this Miami team is legit. I could definitely see them contesting the Bills in this division. Both of them are off to a 2-0 start. I'm not sure when they play. I'm going to look that up right now. Miami versus... They play September 25th. So they play next weekend, actually. Buffalo travels to Miami. That's going to be real indicative of how the rest of the season goes for both of these teams. The Bills look unstoppable the first 2 weeks. They put up crooked numbers against defending Super Bowl champs, the Rams, and then another crooked number last night against the Titans. So we'll see. I think the Bills were my Super Bowl pick. I do think the Dolphins are legit. So I think we're in for a treat next weekend. Baltimore on the other side, Lamar Jackson, even though they lost this one, Lamar still played really, really well, throwing for almost 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also add in over 100 yards rushing and a 79-yard rushing touchdown. Lamar was the first player in NFL history to record a 75-plus yard passing touchdown and a 75-yard rushing touchdown in the same game. So he's continuing to prove why he deserves all the money in the world as he continues to negotiate his own contract, likely at the end of this season when he tests free agency. Earlier I compared Lamar Jackson to the Aaron Judge contract situation, and I think that becomes truer and truer every single week. If you guys aren't baseball fans, Aaron Judge has, I think, 59 home runs. When I'm recording this, the Yankee record is 61. Roger Maris's clean home run record. So he's chasing that down in a season in which he is, playing for a contract. He turned down a crazy extension at the beginning of this season and played on a 1-year arbitration deal, or pre-arbitration deal. And is earning every dollar. Lamar Jackson is doing just about the same thing. Every week, he continues to prove why he deserves all the money in the world, and all of it should be guaranteed. If I'm Baltimore, I'm not really sure why they didn't offer him what he wanted before this season, but that number is only going to increase at the end of this year because there will be teams who are shopping for Lamar and who will pay whatever he wants to get him on their squad. Let's move on to the other game of the day. We have the Jets at Cleveland. The Jets took this one 31-30 in one of the craziest endings to any game you'll see almost ever. They were down by two possessions with under 2 minutes to go, and they scored one. Joe Flacco threw for one touchdown, and Jets attempted the onside kick and recovered it. Joe Flacco stormed down the field with under 40 seconds left and scored with 20-something seconds left on the clock to take the lead, and it was pandemonium for Jets fans. One of the craziest games you'll ever watch. It's kind of interesting with this team considering Joe Flacco isn't their number one guy. I mean, Zach Wilson, he's going to be the guy when he comes back. He's the guy they drafted with that early first-round pick. It wasn't Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's just the backup there. So it'll be really interesting to see what the Jets do as this season continues to progress. I'm interested to see if Robert Saleh can continue to put winning product on the field because up until, I guess, 2.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, the Jets were 2.5 minutes away from starting this season 0-2 yet again. So we'll see if they can step up their play and stop the rushing attack that teams throw at them, because Nick Chubb had a crazy day. Nick Chubb, 17 attempts, 87 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Probably one of the MVPs of the week. I mean, we'll get to that in a little bit, but he had another crazy week. He continues to be a force. Breece Hall continues to see some more time for the Jets, 50 yards and a touchdown on the ground. But yeah, the Jets are a storyline that I'm going to keep on with this season because I think it'll be interesting with all the talent they have to see whether or not they can put a winning product on the field. Because I know Jets fans are anxious to see a winning product that they've kind of been missing since, I don't even know, 2012. I don't even know when was last winning record. I'm not even sure. When was the last time the Jets had a winning season? 2012, yeah. Or 2011. I'm not even sure. Something like that. Something early 2010s or... I'm not even sure. I'll get back to you. But yeah, the Jets fans are anxious for a winning season, and who knows, maybe this is the year, but in all likelihood, the Jets are always going to jet. Let's move on to the late afternoon games. Let's start with Atlanta in LA. The Rams. The Rams took this one 31-27 behind a really great start from Matt Stafford. He started the game 12 for 12 and then threw an end zone interception. Obviously, that didn't ruin the game for them as they still won this one. He still threw for 272 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Cooper Kupp continues to be one of the better receivers in all of football, 11 receptions, 108 yards, and 2 touchdowns. However, he almost literally fumbled the game away, fumbled the ball back to the Falcons with a couple minutes left on the clock in the fourth quarter when they were only down 4. Atlanta needed a touchdown to win the game, and Jalen Ramsey was able to make a huge play on fourth down in the red zone and, stop the Falcons' attack. Marcus Mariota played all right, around 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Drake London caught his first NFL touchdown. I have high expectations for Drake London, and I think he's due primed for a big NFL career, a big rookie season. I think he's one of the most talented receivers in all football with his route running skill. I think he turns defenders around. He's just a really, really good route runner with really good hands. So keep an eye out for the name Drake London in Atlanta. The Rams get back on their winning pace from last season. I think they're going to recover nicely from their Super Bowl hangover. They moved to 1-1 on the season after a tough home, kind of embarrassing loss to the Bills in Week 1. So let's hope they can get back on track. Let's go to Seattle at San Francisco. San Francisco won this one 27-7, but the storyline of this game definitely was not the football. 49ers quarterback Trey Lance was carted off the field in the first quarter after injuring his ankle or lower leg. I don't remember exactly what the injury was, but he broke something in his leg, and he just had season-ending surgery. So the 49ers are turning over their team to Jimmy Garoppolo, who, y'all know the name Jimmy G. He took this team to the conference final last year and fell one game short of returning to the Super Bowl. But yeah, it's kind of an awkward situation. Jimmy G returned on a one-year deal to be Trey Lance's backup, and now he is playing on an incentive-based contract in which he's going to make a buttload of money for every game he plays and wins. So I think this team is going to look very similar to last year. I think the Niners are going to be good. A lot of people are picking the Niners to win that division, but we'll see how they look with Jimmy G, because I know Jimmy G has not had all of the first-team reps going into this year or up to this point. Nick Bosa on the defensive side of the ball continues to look good, and the Niners' defense looked really, really good. They shut out the Seattle offense. Seattle scored one touchdown, and it was off of a blocked field goal that was scooped and scored. So yeah, I'll keep you updated with the Niners quarterback situation each and every week, because I think that'll be another one to look out for. Let's move to the Cincinnati at Dallas game. Dallas won this one on a last-second Brett Maher 50-yard game-winning field goal. Dallas took this one 20-17. Dak Prescott out 6 to 8 weeks with a thumb injury. A lot of people thought this was going to derail the Cowboys season. It still could. They're only 1-1. A lot of people thought they could have started 2-0 with their schedule. But Cooper Rush is the new quarterback in Dallas, is going to steer this team for at least the next 6 weeks until Dak is fully healthy. The combination we saw this week between Cooper Rush and Noah Brown, they both competed together this preseason and in training camp on getting second-team reps, and now that they're both seeing time due to injuries is pretty cool. The first touchdown Cooper Rush threw was to Noah Brown. They have some real chemistry, and it's very apparent on the football field. Noah Brown had 5 receptions for 91 yards and a touchdown. Micah Parsons, back-to-back weeks with multiple sacks. He had added 2 sacks to his season total, so now he's at 4. He is, one of the best, if not the best linebacker in all of football. And, you can see that from watching any tape of his. You could pick any bit of tape and you'll see what I'm talking about. For Cincy, though, they don't look great, if I'm being completely honest. They don't look like they don't look like the same team that went to the Super Bowl last year. This O-line, the Cincinnati O-line, is so bad. They gave up another 6 sacks this week. They gave up, I think it was like 4 or 5 last week. If Joe Burrow is going to have success like he did last year, he's going to have to be protected. That's your franchise guy. Took you to a Super Bowl last year in his second year in the league. First full year. He tore his ACL in his rookie year. He continues to get better, but it's really hard to be that good when your O-line gives up pressure like they are right now. So that's something that this team has to get better at, and that's not usually something that fixes itself in the middle of the season. The Bengals start this season out 0-2. Dallas 1-1. This game was huge because starting 0-2, your chances of making the playoffs at starting 0-2 is only like 11%. And Cincinnati being in a tougher division with Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and the Browns, who knows if this team makes the playoff? We could start with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh hasn't had a losing season in like 10 plus years with head coach Mike Tomlin. The Ravens, we know what the Ravens are going to be this year. with Lamar Jackson. I mean, they lost this week, but that wasn't a devastating loss. They looked really good in that one, so I don't see them faltering. And then the Browns. I mean, the Browns are going to get Deshaun Watson at some point this year, so I don't know if Cincinnati makes the playoffs. I'll put that out there. I'm kind of curious what y'all think. Comment what y'all think if the Bengals will make the playoffs or not. Why or why not? And then let's move to Houston at Denver. Denver won this one 16-9. Denver looks really, really disappointing in the first 2 weeks. They don't look like the team we all hyped them up to be. Russ had a 45% completion percentage, 220 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. His leading receiver, Cortland Sutton, 7 receptions, 122 yards. I was kind of surprised by the lack of presence of Jerry Jeudy. Going into this year, I expected him to get a heavy dosage of targets. He hasn't really gotten that in the first 2 weeks, so maybe that's something in the Denver game plan that we'll see later on in the season. And then for Houston, Davis Mills, I mean, he's their quarterback right now, 3rd-round pick, 67th overall. I guess the question in Houston is he that guy, or do you go out and draft or sign another quarterback? I mean, we'll see this year. Houston's going to be bad. I mean, they're going to finish with just a few wins. So, I mean, we'll see. The fact that they put up 9 points against Denver is, I mean, a win within itself for this Houston team, but we'll see. I mean, the question for Denver is Denver overhyped? And I'm curious to know what y'all think. I think they're going to figure it out. I think Russ is going to cook at some point, and their offense is all going to click, but who knows how fast that happens. The last of the late afternoon games was Arizona at Las Vegas. Arizona took this one 29-23. Kyler Murray was 21 for 49, 277 passing yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He also had that crazy 2-point conversion where PFF said he ran 80-plus yards to convert a two-point conversion. So that's just a crazy stat. Zach Ertz played well, 8 receptions, 75 yards. J.J. Watt, first sack of the season. And then for Vegas, Derek Carr played well, over 250 passing yards and a pair of touchdowns. Darren Waller showed up, 50 yards and a touchdown. Hunter Renfrow couldn't hold on to the football, though. Fumbled twice, lost one of them. So, yeah, I mean, Vegas starts this season 0-2. Arizona moves to 1-1. Now the big-time matchup on Sunday Night Football on NBC. We had Chicago at Green Bay. Green Bay was dominant in this one, taking this one 27-10. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he owns the Chicago Bears. Threw for 234 yards and a pair of touchdowns. The craziest stat of all, Aaron Rodgers is 23-5 versus the Bears in his career. He last lost to Chicago in 2018. Just again, Rodgers is 23-5 versus the Bears in his career. He hasn't lost to them since 2018. That's ridiculous. I mean, even this year, their receivers aren't great. He doesn't have the best team surrounding him, but Aaron Rodgers is proving why he is going to always put up a case as to why he should win the MVP. His running back, Aaron Jones, 15 attempts, 132 yards, and a touchdown. For Green Bay also, Preston Smith had a pair of sacks. David Montgomery for the Bears, 15 attempts for 122 yards. And Justin Fields, I mean, they didn't really let him throw the ball that much, so it was, I mean, I want to see him let it loose this season. He's kind of playing for a job either this year or next year, so we'll see if they turn him loose. He was 7 for 11 for 70 yards with a 6.7 QBR, which is pretty bad. The game of the week, I'm going to have to take Miami versus Baltimore. That was a ridiculous comeback. Crazy fun to watch. And Tua Tagovailoa was my MVP from Sunday. disappointment of the week, I got to ride with Indianapolis. They're bad right now, but hopefully they turn it around. I want them to turn around. I'm rooting for them. I'm hoping for it. And then let's wrap things up talking some Monday Night Football real quick. In the first game, we had Tennessee taking on Buffalo in Buffalo. Buffalo continued their ridiculous start to the season, winning this one 41-7. Buffalo moves to 2-0. Tennessee to 0-2. Tennessee lost last week to the Giants. They were a little shocked by that. I don't know that this one was as much on Tennessee as it was on Buffalo having a crazy performance. Josh Allen was 26 for 38 with 317 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs had, it's the second week, but this will probably be one of his best performances. 12 receptions, 148 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Ryan Tannehill did not play great. He had 2 interceptions. Malik Willis saw some time late in the game making his NFL debut. And Derrick Henry did not look like King Henry. 13 attempts for 25 yards. However, he did have a touchdown. And then the last game, wrapping up week 2, Minnesota took on Philadelphia in Philadelphia. Philadelphia won this one 24-7 behind a great performance from Jalen Hurts, who was 26 for 31, 331 passing yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Philly continues to be a dominant team as they move to 2-0, tied for first place in the division with the New York Giants. And they continue to show why they have the top, one of, if not the top, rushing attacks in the NFL. In week 2, Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts combined for 137 rush yards. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Patrick Mahomes targeted 10 different receivers, 9 had receptions. Philadelphia kind of had the same storyline. 8 different players had receptions, which just shows how many weapons they have on this team and how successful they can be this year with Jalen Hurts. On the defensive side, Darius Slay continues to be great. 2 interceptions. Kirk Cousins, I don't know how you throw the ball 46 times with Kirk Cousins, but it's possible if you're Minnesota. He was 27 for 46, 221 passing yards, a touchdown, and 3 costly interceptions. Minnesota fell behind early in this game and really struggled to use the run game. Dalvin Cook didn't get the touches that we're accustomed to him seeing. I think if this Minnesota team is gonna be successful this year, they're gonna have to get the ball in Dalvin Cook's hands. That'll open up some play action game that Kirk Cousins is successful with and opens up the field for guys like Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. But yeah, that was Monday night. 2 not so great football games after a really great Sunday. But yeah, just to wrap things up, the week 2, great week in the NFL. I look forward to week 3. I think this coming week I'm going to have a midweek episode of Move Those Chains Out with a special guest talking about the business side of NFL football, what the new Thursday night Amazon broadcasts are like, some of the business behind that. I look forward to bringing that to y'all. That'll probably be out Friday morning, probably, on my YouTube channel, Laz Sports, and lazsports.com. So keep a lookout for those 2 things. But yeah, I look forward to talking to y'all soon. Peace.